Dr. Sebi, I want to thank you for being with us today to talk about your life's journey and talk about what you've done with Dr. Sebi's Office, LLC.
Well, I'm more than happy and honored that I've been invited because I always want to be a servant. People thought that that was a demeaning position. To me, it was honorable, and I remain a servant. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You are most welcome. Okay, well, let's get started. Who are you, Dr. Sebi, and what has been your life's journey?
Who am I? I don't know. I never even spent time to analyze that or to process that because it was never my interest. In fact, I don't know what is of my interest. But that's the way I am. I wish I was different because, see, I'm the little boy that didn't go to school. I'm the little boy that never had a future or shouldn't have a future. In fact, the mothers of the children that I used to play with used to tell them not to play with me because I hadn't been to school. And that was okay with me. I was free. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being by the river. And as I grew, I was able to get these jobs, you know, first a caddy at 11. I caddied from 11 to 13. I got a job with the dairy farm at 13, Mr. Montiel. I left there at 14 and went to work in the commissary for the Standard Food Company. I was 14 years old and I got a job as a clerk. And I left that when I was 20. And I traveled over the mountains of Honduras to a place named Olanchito to see my mother. The year 1954, I left Honduras. The last time I saw my mother and my grandmother. I got to New Orleans. I met some beautiful people in New Orleans. It was the most exciting time of my life. I met brothers and sisters that were, in fact, everybody was beautiful then and there now, but we have taken on a different profile in certain areas in the social area, but that was okay. But I remember New Orleans as being the place that I really, really love. I love New Orleans now. I go there just to be in City Park. I remember Ernest Morier when he was a lawyer, and he used to come to the barbershop, Tim Barbershop, on Claiborne Avenue, 1600 block of Claiborne. We used to go there and talk about blackness, talk about the black woman, talk about what we should do. We may not have been on target, but at least we were interested in ourselves. Moriel, who was then a lawyer, used to come in the barbershop and tell us, hey, I'm going to have all you so-and-so in jail, especially you, Mr. X, and you were referring to me, because I was a Muslim. I'm going to send you back to Honduras. And do you know that when I came to California in 1964, Moriel became the mayor of New Orleans. Wasn't that beautiful? But I was there. So I'm in California. I had various jobs. I worked for Mead Corporation. It's a box company. A box company that made corrugated carton for Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. Then I quit that and I went to work for Western Craft. And they did the same. Then one day, a Mexican little guy, a little Mexican guy named Manuel tells me, Alfredo, you say that you're a steam engineer? Well, the county looking for steam engineers. I said, he showed me the newspaper. And they were starting you off at $2,200 a month. I was only making $8 at Western Craft. He said, but you got to pass the test. Well, I know I could ace the test. I went to the building of Safety and Something building in LA, and I took the test, and I aced the test. The very evening I passed the test, the engineering test, I'm traveling going towards the west. Mel Watkins and his wife is coming on the same street, which was Wilshire, on my left going east, and I told Mel, I aced the test, and Mel laughed. Mail was coming the very evening that I aced that test. So, while a steam engineer, I remember the Mexican that had healed me after being in the hands of Chinese doctors, herbalists, black herbalists, many herbalists. They didn't help me. The Mexican did. Yeah. The baddest dude in the whole wide world.
Why did you need to be healed?
Alfredo Cortez.
Why did you need to be healed? What was going on?
He healed me of a disease that beset every black person in and out of Africa. I was born with asthma, couldn't breathe. Later on, I had diabetes. Then I became impotent at 27. At 30, at 28. 30, I'm 2 years impotent. Don't know what to do. And everybody's telling me this and that story. But there was a brother from New Orleans by the name of Ronald Evans that was an anthropologist that told me about this man because he was doing anthropological work in Mexico. And he called me and said, it was a Sunday afternoon, and I couldn't breathe, and the telephone is ringing, and I don't want to answer this phone because I don't want to talk, because I'm very, very angry and I cannot breathe. But something said, answer the phone. I picked it up, and it was Ronald Evans that I met in New Orleans on Murray Street. This man said, you going to be healed. There is a man in Mexico, and this is address. I went to Mexico, and 90 days later, I don't have any disease. So naturally, I was cured and I felt happy, but the man brought me to a consciousness that even our so-called leaders today have not touched upon. Listen to what this Mexican did. He asked me, where are you from? I said, from Honduras. He said, I cannot talk to you. He said, I cannot talk to you because black people doesn't come out of Honduras. There's Maya, there's Paya, there's Lenca, not blacks. I can't talk to you because you're not making sense. So where are you from? Oh, I said, I'm from Africa. He said, now we're talking. Now, did you know, he said, that there is a diet that you have to follow, just like the gorilla and the polar bear, he said. Gorilla does not eat polar bear food. There's a food designed specifically for the gorilla, specifically for an eagle, specifically for all living species on the planet. Do you know your food? I said, well, I eat rice and beans and pig knuckles and hog maws and chitlins. He said, I asked you the question, do you know your food? Because what you just mentioned, all of it is European. What is the food of your fathers? I said, I don't know. He said, okay. I'm going to bring you close to it. Don't worry about it. He said, we begin, you're not going to eat anything. Prepare yourself for a fast of 90 days. And you're not going to eat meat for the rest of your life. No cheese, no butter, no eggs, no milk. If you do, you will not see 50. But if you listen to me and carry out the discipline, you'll be making babies when you're 70. You can't make babies now when you're under 30. I said, what did you say? He said, man, look, you listen to me. You'll be making babies at 70, yeah? If you listen to me. Well, he was wrong. My child was born to me at 77. Taiwan. Was he right? I'm Mexican. He's going to deploy those words to an African. That he, the African, has never heard from his own brothers and sisters. But here I am today, 50 years later, talking about this Mexican, this brilliant man that understood my race much better than I did at that time. Since Alfredo cured me and I began to do further research, then I found, yeah, that we are comatose. I didn't realize that until I asked her sister. I said, Elizabeth, what's wrong with us? She said, we are insane. And it's the truth. This now going to bring us to 1988. All my young life, I used to hear that a black man ain't this, a black man ain't that, and a black woman ain't this, and she's not that. They used to call they used to call the woman Sapphire, Miss Ann. But I said in 1962, I'm going to give the black woman a gift. Yes, I said that. And because I verbalized that, it happened. So in 1988, I'm before the Supreme Court. I'm arrested in 1987. Why? Because I left the county engineering job to do further research on her, but while working for the county, Mr. Fredericks was blind and he was seeing. Dr. Amado had diabetes. He no longer had diabetes. Fred Takashita, the Japanese wife, had endometriosis. She's a white lady from Weathermore, Utah. She couldn't have babies. She had babies. She had two. She had Jason and a little girl. And when I had done that, I felt that, well, I qualified to come to my people now. Because I have done things that they claim were incurable, but they were cured and reversed. So, me and my enthusiasm, not realizing the psychological environment that exists among us, the president of Dominica, Mr. Oliver Serafin, heard of me because of a young lady that came and stayed with me for a while named Martha Laville. I went to Dominica, and he's happy and I'm happy, and we're going to build this hospital up on the hill of Diablotin. And we had all these beautiful plans. And then he lost the following election. And Miss Mary Eugenia Child said, I'm going to kick you out. So be prepared, you're leaving, because your friend lost the election. And I don't like you. Because you see, my brother is a doctor. And nobody's coming to him, they all come to you. So I'm going to kick you out. And she kicked me out. So I went to St. Croix. When I got to St. Croix, they didn't like me there. They used to throw fecal matter in bags at my doors. I went to Puerto Rico. Well, needless to say, it was a little bit challenging. Then I got sick and tired of Puerto Rico. I went to Miami. I established a fig tree. And then that was taken away from me. That was okay. I continued. But we're going to go back to 1988, 87, when I was arrested. Why? Because I put the ads in the newspapers, in the Amsterdam News, in the Village Voice, and the New York Post. AIDS has been cured by the USHA Research Institute. And we specialize in cures for sickle cell, lupus, herpes, cancer, and others. Well, a black man is going to put this kind of ad in the newspapers in New York in 1987, 85. You got to be insane, number one. The state is not going to allow such a thing to prevail. And my brothers and sisters, who I am addressing, and that my whole life work is for us. Why? Because we are the sickest. They didn't know anything about herbs, because the only thing that they knew about herbs is what was read or shown, what was written in the Back to Eden, Jethro Claus, Indian Herbology of North America by Alma Hutchins, The Herbalist by Myers, then you have Christopher from England, and then you have the Russian, Ivan Kirkikov, then you had the Brazilian, Hipólito Rodriguez. But I kept looking at all these books and the stuff that they were recommending, and nobody was being healed. By me working in the county, I had a use of a laboratory, and I began to do, hydrogen ion tests on the herbs. Why? Because I found out that the brothers that call themselves herbalists, 90% of the herbs that they're using today is still hybrids. They are hybrids. They are acid-based. So I was able to be taken to another level of understanding about these herbs. And by 1985, I put this ad in the papers because I was happy. Why shouldn't I be happy? I should be happy. I'm useful to my race, and not only to my race, but to the world at large. Should you be happy? Of course. But my happiness is going to be shadowed by reality that I did not expect. I was arrested. When the detective came and arrested me, put a handcuff on me, I asked the detective, why are you arresting me? Because you claim you cure AIDS. I said, so? Why are you arresting me? Do you want people to be cured? You're taking me to jail? So when they put me in front of the camera, Channel 7, Channel 13, Channel 5, and Channel 2 in New York, Channel 7 came forward and asked me, Dr. Sebi, do you really cure AIDS? I cure AIDS then. I cure AIDS now. And for as long as I live, I would be able to cure AIDS. Well, how do you feel to be arrested? I said, well, the police have to do things the police way. So it went on. Now I'm arrested, I'm in jail, and then the judge had me out. Judge Shorter said, let him out on his own recognizance, and I want him in my chambers. Dr. Sebi, why do you say you cure AIDS? Why did I say that? I said, Your Honor, my mama is still alive, and there's a continent they call Africa, and there's my face, and I represent all three of them, and I'm not going to undermine any one of those entities by telling something other than the truth. He looked at the white woman at the table and said, did you guys investigate this man before you arrest him? She said, no. Her name is Phyllis Spade. She's assistant to the Attorney General, Robert Abraham. She said, no. And the judge said, well, you guys are in trouble, because the response he gave me, he cured AIDS. Judge Shorter said that. So needless to say, I went to court. I had to take it to the limits. Why? Because I heard about the yin yang, which is Chinese, but they use dead animals and inorganic plants. I mean hybrid plants. Then I heard about the Japanese, which is macrobiotic, but they use rice, which is what? Cyanide. We can, maybe the Japanese could assimilate that, but we can't. Then I heard about the Ayurvedic. The Ayurvedic is from India. They offers cow milk. Well, black people genetically cannot assimilate cow milk. And that's a fact. I'm not the only one to see that. Dr. Pablo Arriola, which is a European, in Finland, he made a statement in his book, if your ancestors are European, your body is programmed to digest milk. But if your ancestors are African, your body is not programmed to digest milk. Meaning, that there is a line of demarcation drawn by nature. Genetical predisposition, we are different. We're not better than white people. We're not better than Chinese or Eskimos. But we happen to be different. That difference has never been treated by our scholars, our educators, and our geneticists. It has never been treated. So I know this, because they were following everybody's modality but their own. So you know what I did? Upon hearing about all these Ayurvedic, homeopathic, then I said, I'm going to give Mama an identification. The African bio-mineral balance. That is the essence of it all.